And yeah, I've got the vocal. So we're back here. I'm in student view here in Canvas in the module. And I'm scroll down to our to our week 7. In fact, it'll be much quicker if I just simply do this, Control F, and put in week 7. And there we go. Using the page, just like a database. I wanted to make sure that I pointed out some, I think, good resources, and we just didn't have the time, but this is the lecture time. This is a video feature that is over at the International CIS. You want to take a look at that, some of the notable applications that they have. It's, I think, a quite good set of things to look at. Again, these are products and how by companies is your guess is going to be good, is about as good as mine, but I thought ultimately it would be something to look at. Here's a daily report that talks about China and the development of its IT capabilities. And then this is really more one of those big strategic issues of the tech's frightful 5, and I'll take you over there to the article. And as usual, it's I have to tell you, there's a lot of it in the New York Times I ignore, but the business section and the technology section I don't, because they have some really great reporting. This is an excellent article talking about the 5 big companies: Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google, and now of course Microsoft, the big 5, and how they are dominant. And this is a very common thing for us to see a few firms emerge. Most of the industries in our country are really, and I believe it's called an oligopoly or oligopoly, and that's a few firms that dominate everybody else. And definitely these are the dominant players. So I think it's a resource certainly worth looking at. Pop back over here to some more of the week 7 resources. Here's an article about a better life by design. I think you'll want to take a look at it, just what's going on in terms of design and products. And some interesting stuff. Again, just a more expansive thing for you to get a sense of IT and how it's work, play, life. It's a good video. Certainly is one worth taking a look at. A great resource. I also have, again, an article here from HBR Online. And what is a business model? And they talk about what do we mean when we talk about a business model? And this is an excellent article online. You can look at it. You don't have to, pay for it. But I certainly think it's worth your while to take a look at the article and the synopsis that's there. Just think it's a fantastic resource. And we'll pop back over here. And we've talked some about, of course, there's exams and the other things that we're due. And we'd also talked about, this is a sauces it will be the lab I'm going to talk about. That's there in one of the textbooks when I do the supplemental lab. This, of course, is the supplemental lecture session. I'm going to pop over to the New York Times for a second, and as usual, they have some things there, some food for thought. I think some, very interesting, and I think it's interesting. You maybe you've heard the term the deep web, and this is. You'll want to take a look. This is article that deals with the sale of fentanyl, which of course is part of that opioid crisis. Some, kinds of things in terms of, personal technology. And I think that you'll want to take a look at there's a couple of these articles that are really, I think, of great value to us. And you'll want to take a look at that. Gaming, which is a big industry. A couple of things. I think this was an interesting article. Amazon isn't technically dominant, but it isn't technically dominant, but it pervades our lives. The question is what is it? Why is it? How is that the case? And this is one of the things I want to talk with you about. As I said before, information technology is sneaky. It can be, because it can become absolutely obsequious and yet have such a powerful impact. And the reason that Amazon doesn't have the greatest coders in the world, they have the best database in the world outside of Google. We talk about Amazon's web services, and that is its size and scale makes it the dominant database, if you will, or dominant e-commerce platform or transaction platform. But of course, they have to have fulfillment centers and physical distribution to get that done. But what this article really does suggest is that it's not necessarily having the greatest technology. It's how well you deploy the technology, and that's why we say that information tech ultimately has to be decision-centric, and those decisions are going to run along the following kinds of things. Is it buy or make? Okay, are we going to outsource it, or are we going to use internal resources and people? Managing our relationship with the customers, what I call a boundary, managing our boundaries. How do we deal with our customers? How do we relate to them? How do we use the technology to stay in contact and to further sales and get their feedback? I certainly think that another would be our suppliers, and that could be for example, also if I'm a tech company or I'm a big, let's say I'm GM, or I'm a big auto parts country or a company or whatever I do, if I'm recruiting people to come to work for me, that again is one of the ways I use technology to try to as an intermediary to get those things done. In other words, we've talked about this, about Coase's law, that when a company can do a transaction through an outside entity as opposed to doing it themselves, they'll go with the cheaper alternative every time. Technology really does focus and push that process. So this is a way that, nobody in the world says that, for example, Match.com has the best website in the world. They don't. But they were smart, and they know how to build algorithms that help people meet each other. Okay? It's an intermediary for people who are looking for someone to date or someone to marry. And again, we saw that, we talked about this at the start of the course, and the way that technology can really be a game changer, even if it's not the greatest piece of software and the greatest piece of technology. And so I think there's a great lesson there for companies, especially as you went through and we learned about the total cost of ownership, which is budgeted out and handled out. And you may have seen some performance, and firms are getting a little bit smarter about looking at their budgets, how they handle their budgets for technology, taking the total cost of ownership approach, and understanding that, you know, you can walk yourself into something that can be far more expensive than the benefit that you get out of it. So I thought that was an interesting article as I took a look at it. And the you know, there are just some other types of things you're usually going to find over here in the latest news that they'll have. Over in this section, and they also will have some things about low tech. I'm going to, in fact, click on the technology section here. We'll take a look at it real quickly, and you can just some general news. Here's a very interesting article about Facebook videos and having them automatically play. Here is certainly something of use, and this deals with this issue of countries, their control of applications, their control of the internet. This is, again, one of those things playing itself out throughout the world. And again, you're always going to see some interesting thing here over in the technology section. And this is an interesting article talking about what will service work look like. So again, the overall theme, okay, that you're seeing here is that a lot of this is just the changing of the guard in terms of some companies, the dominance of some of the older tech companies, and that's one of the difficult things about trying to lecture as opposed to just going straight through the general principles that are there in the textbook. We're seeing such an explosion of, especially with applications, and then this thing of this idea of the Internet of Things, and then the global disbursement of technology that we see, and that's why this New York Times page of technology is just such a hodgepodge. There isn't just a general overall theme that you're going to find. Now I'm going to open up another tab here, and I'm going to go over to the LA Times, which is another place where I go to get some general tech news. And they have a couple of some good sections, and we'll take a look first of all at the business section. And there's some things of interest, as far as if you're going to be traveling, what to do in terms of your computer, that business. And one of these apps, the Google Glass app, how it works. And again, this issue of net neutrality is coming up, and you should go out and get yourself versed, okay? And one of the issues is you're talking about the company town is a section of the LA Times where they talk a whole lot about the entertainment business, and why wouldn't they? That's their thing. And here, this is an article that talks about TV networks selling a record amount of money in advertising, when to have heard them told 4 or 5 years ago, the spread of all of these places like Hulu and Roku, and the ability on-demand videos on-demand, net movies, TV shows, etc. What they're really finding is they're binge watching and the recording of things is really just getting their product distributed out there, and people binge watching a TV or watching the same movie 3 or 4 times because they've downloaded it really is adding a value to their property, and it's hard for us to gauge that, but we keep seeing them doing these, having high sales of advertising. And so obviously the people in marketing understand you got to go where the folks are at in order to talk with them. Now, the company town is one section I take a look at because they talk a lot about what's going on. And again, here's this business about how the technology is changing things. Here are a couple of cable networks or made for cable networks specialized outlets, Animal Planet, HGT, that they're talking about merging themselves. And so what we're seeing is this ongoing jockeying between these content providers, okay, with tech companies, and then you've got, of course, the phone companies in the midst of all of that too. So the company in town section in the LA Times is quite good in terms of helping you see how this is kind of happening. And again, here's Amazon, who has now decided they'll become a content provider. And you know, here's one of those anomalous things. So you can see there's a lot of interesting and just business, move about the entertainment business. LA is the capital for that, and so I think it's always a good idea to come over and take a look at what they've got to say. Now, another place I like to go is over to The Economist. And you can get a digital subscription. They'll let you browse for free. And they're, here they're asking us if we want to review, if we want to buy a subscription. I think it's got some fantastic articles in it, and as you can see, they're chunking content. They're using different ways to deliver their content. The Economist is at its heart is a content provider. And here, of course, is their take on things. And you'll always find some interesting tech stories and tech trends. You go and look at the sections, okay? And you can see some of their blogs. The Science and Technology blog is, and then they have Technology Quarterly, which is always, I think, an excellent source to see. And this issue now of getting things delivered, as you notice, we're seeing a push for the development of driverless vehicles, the push for the development of driverless delivery vehicles, the use of drones to deliver things. This is because, as we see more and more growth, retailing moving online, okay, the more we see that the distribution center becomes the hub, not the retail outlet. And there will be a day and time when Walmart will be scaled back because they won't be warehousing everything. That they'll probably continue to warehouse what they have because they can do that so well, and then they'll find other products to sell along with what they offer, but they'll offer those via the internet. And how firms are going to work their way through it, particularly retailers, and the big, as I mentioned before, the two big dogs in the block are Google, Walmart and Amazon. And so you can see this issue of getting stuff to people. This notion of instant on-demand service. I buy something and it's at my front door within an hour. This is the holy grail of retail. Ever since the days that Sears and Roebuck, the old Sears and Roebuck company, designed a revolutionary disruptive tool. It was called Catalog. And you could order stuff amazingly. You didn't have to go to the general store. You could order, you fill out your order form, put it in the mail, and then put in a check, 3 or 4 weeks. Your money. There's a time when you could even send money through the mail, and your clothes or whatever you bought would show up. You'll be delivered to you. So this issue about delivery drones and the use of drones, and this is just some really excellent articles talking about that technology. Okay, and I think again it's worth your time and trouble. As you can see, they're trying to get me to register with them, which I'm not going to do. Now, I'm going to take off the company town business and I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to go over to Wired Magazine, which I think is another great place to take a look and to stay up on trends. And again, I think what you're going to find is that these sources, consulted at, looked at on an occasional basis, will give you some strategic thinking. And with an MBA, there is no point in you getting an MBA and paying to get an MBA if you're not going to come out a strategically oriented employee who is thinking is what I call an enterprise thinker. IT ultimately forces us to do this, and I bring us back to 2 cases that I think are seminal in the core in the program. I think the first is the case about the FBI and how they tried to overcome all those silos of their regional offices. And I think a second and very important case is the Procter & Gamble case, if I'm not mistaken, where they want to have, or Johnson & Johnson, where they want to have a face to the customer. And I'd add a third would be the Airbus case, the Boeing case, the Dreamliner, and these tell us about the people challenges of using technology and information technology, and it's not going to get any easier because we have so many people who ascribe to what companies that ascribe to what they call a BYOD, bring your own device. And the experience, for example, this course that you're taking, if you're at home right now and you're on your computer screen, you're seeing what I'm seeing with this Wired and all this business. You're getting a nice full picture of it. Maybe not as large as I have a large screen here at home. Yeah, you'd get a nice view off of a tablet, a nice view off of a desktop. But if you're in there, you're working on your phone, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to miss a lot of stuff because your phone just doesn't have the size, the capacity to put all that in there unless it really squeezes it down. And so there's this question of bringing your own device, and how do we make a website compatible for all of these different types of devices that are out here. But I think again, you want to see some, if you want to see some excellent resources, I would say for sure, then Wired Magazine is another of those that you would want to take a look at. And I'd have to say it, at this point, that would be pretty much all that I'm going to take a look at. Now, I'll add some more time in when we do the lab. And when we do the lab, now I'm going to go through a lab case, but it won't be one that you have to turn in. Okay, it's just one that's just kind of a freebie. And then we'll do some looking also out there at some databases that maybe we haven't. In fact, I think I'm just going to do that for a little bit here to talk about what I think are some really neat kind of fun things to look at. And you can see, of course, from my screen who I do some business with. I think first of all, one that's absolutely revolutionary is with IT is the ability to use the ability for us to understand weather, because weather does impact people. Weather impacts their feelings. It impacts where they go, or they come out and they spend money, or they stay home. It impacts the delivery of goods and services. And I think that you could go out and you could see some. And I think just also personally from your own evocation to see and to let you see how, as I've said before, so much of these are databases. Here's the National Weather Service webpage, which is really a form, and they ask you now if you want to where you want to go. And one of the things they do that's really impressive is they even treat the mouse as they use the mouse as a drop-down menu. Watch it, and you'll see what I'm going to mean. I'm going to put and I see the little pop-up. Go to the Oklahoma City. I put pop-up over here. What they're using is an input mask based upon where I put the cursor. Okay, so this is a fairly sophisticated piece of technology that's here. And then, of course, they've got some radar mosaics. Okay, these are basically nothing more than some queries that were run that combine different geographic regions. Okay, that's what you got in here. So then up here, of course, you have some tables that can get converted into some reports. This is a lot like that little database we opened up that had things you could link and go over and take a look at, see how much inventory you had and all that business. And then you could see all the different dimensions that they're dealing with here. So this is a hub or portal. It's also, this is a fact table here for you, and treats it like a fact table to show you, what are the temperatures, what are the data given certain attributes, and attributes being places. So I think it's just fascinating. And again, we've seen a real revolution in terms of weather. I'm going to go to another place that I've mentioned before, but I just think it's just a great one, and that's going to be ESPN. As I mentioned before, I teach a course on ESPN. ESPN is one of the most fascinating, and I think one of the greatest companies in the world, and because they're a perfect marriage of an infinitely desirable product to a passionate consumer of the product, using the best distribution methodology possible to sell it. And if you go over to ESPN's site, you can see it. And this is really, again, is nothing more than a form. This is a recommendation engine for all intents and purposes, but kind of a form, but it's really more like a recommendation engine. This is Amazon for sports nuts, okay? And you can go over, you can see who's playing right now, what the scores are, what's going on, etc. It's just fantastic stuff. And it doesn't matter what sports you're in, and they've incorporated videos. ESPN has just done an incredible job of developing their website and really getting it honed into the ongoing stories of sports. See, sports is like a movie that never stops, or a novel that never stops, or a television show. that never stops because there's always a new season. And so if you're a passionate follower of the Cardinals or the Yankees like I am, you're a passionate follower of OU football, or maybe you're a passionate follower of a soccer team. Maybe you're a fan of UCF. Maybe you're a hockey fan. There's always next year, and there's always the season and the stories. And so ESPN the founders of ESPN hit a gold mine when they understood that Americans are sports nuts and they will watch sports 24 hours a day. ESPN is also the progenitor of people like HGTV, the progenitor of fashion channels. The granddaddy of them all, as far as I'm concerned, would be CNN, because CNN took news reporting and went to using embedded reporters, which everybody in the world had done, but they took the technology of cable and were able to give you real time. And this, the first time this really, when CNN really came to prominence and really changed the news business into a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week business, when they reported on the first Iraq War. Wolf Blitzer was there covering real time what was happening. And so the technology was important. Now again, we talk about it being designed to be decision centric, and I wanted to show you these. And what's happened in so many ways is that commercial or personal technologies have seemed to predate industrial or commercial applications. I'm going to give you a great apple. I'm going to give you two good examples: Facebook and Twitter, which are social media. And for businesses, this is just my opinion, is Facebook, Twitter, Yelp, all of these different Pinterest, Instagram, all of these social media applications are a solution looking for a problem. Okay? I'll just put it like that. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up this lecture. And then, as I said before, we're going to take a look at a case. Now, when we look at that sauces case, okay, it's not one that you have to upload. I've already told you what you need to upload for the database case that's due on that was due, I believe, on the 20th. And let's see if we have one of the group software. Yeah, this one that was concluded case 20, or the other DB case was completed. We've already talked about that, and that was, and we did that. We did that a little bit. We did the Elusive Moose database, okay, and then we did the movies database. And you've had some experience of your own. We'll talk about that when we do the supplemental lecture. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And by the way, if you want, and you've got what you think is a really cool website, please feel free to let me know. And I'm going to show you one to finish this up. I promised you I would. It's a very fascinating. If you like neat stuff, and you're a dreamer like me about, gosh, I'd like to have that kind of car or that kind of house, or if stuff like that appeals to you, if it's interesting, here's a wonderful site that will just blow your mind. It's called Cool Hunters, and the Cool Hunter Journal. And if you want to see what, art and architecture, design, travel, lifestyle, homes, this is incredible. You'll see some incredible stuff here. And I'm not trying to push a materialistic, approach to life, not by any means, but you'll see some interesting stuff. But the Cool Hunter is a luxury consumer's Amazon, for all intents and purposes. It's about the only way to put it. And so I think it'd be worth your while to go over and take a look at what they've got going on, because it has some absolutely fantastic stuff. I'm a big fan of art, of architecture, And I'll tell you, I see some stuff that, man, just incredible. All right, folks, I thank you so much. And I'm going to pause the share. In fact, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to stop recording and end the meeting. And you have a good one.